Understanding Artistic Text. We are now on page 28 of your working file, Artistic Text. Now you will hear me refer to two different types of text throughout the training. One is artistic text and the other is paragraph text. The best way to define what the differences are is paragraph text is text inside of the container, and we called it paragraph text obviously because that container allows us to resize it. You know, like text in a magazine, that sort of thing. Anyway, we will talk more about that, but for right now, we're looking at artistic text. So come down to Toolbar and simply select the Text tool, or F8 on the keyboard. As with all of the tools we have been learning, when you select a tool, oftentimes properties will appear in the toolbar, and in this case, I am being told these are the properties that will be applied when you click and stop typing. So if I click and I type in and say Corel Draw, like I typed this morning, okay, well that piece of text there is of these attributes, Humanist 24, and right now it's not bold or underlined, but those options are available to me. Now this is interesting. One of the first things that you'll notice about the Text tool and do with artistic text, I can resize my text. I click and notice how no rotation handles or skew handle, so the only option I have is to resize. Notice how that's affecting the point size as I do resize. If I were to now click bold, well, the text was not made bold. However, if I continued to type, as you can see, the next bit of text is bold. So I am a little bit like working in Windows Word or those of the top subprograms. The thing to remember is, while you have the Text tool selected, you can highlight a particular group of letters within that bit of text. I can change the color. For example, I could change the bold, underline, and I can even change the point size to something much larger inside of what I have selected. But does that make sense? Okay, here is the thing. If I go back to my Pick tool now, I actually have a different set of attributes. If I select this, I can click again, and now I can rotate and skew and do all those things that we have been learning about. However, I cannot individually select the letter as I can when I have the Text tool selected to apply something. What happens here is if I apply something, well, everything, it's applied to the entire piece of text at the same time. I can make the whole piece, take a bold, run the line, etc., etc., change the color of the whole thing, but I cannot individually do it, so that the primary difference between two, select the Text tool, and then I can highlight an area, change the color, change its attributes, and so on. Okay, I will just quickly undo that with Control-Z. Let's just leave it like that for a moment. Now I will just move, shrink that down a little bit, and pop that over there. I want you to also notice this. When you have the Pick tool selected, if you come in, you select your text, but double-click. So double-click. Automatically I have the Text tool selected. Now, to go back to the Pick tool, you can't hit the space bar, of course, because that puts a space in your text. So Control and space will take you back to your Pick tool. Just bear that in mind. The last thing I will quickly want to show you, and we will learn a little bit more shortly when we actually go ahead to do our cut, but two more things I want to show you are, if I select my Text tool and I then change some attributes up here, I can ask this all the time. If I now say change that to, say, let's come back here to Arial on Arrow Black. Notice on us changing text properties when nothing is selected will modify the attributes used by the Text tool. Now, so I have artistic and paragraph as an option to stay with artistic. Let me reword that for you. if you change the properties on the property bar before you click on the page and type, they will become the default properties. So I will just type some rubbish. If I go back to my pick tool, delete that. Now watch this. If I come back and select my text tool, see, by default, Arial Black 24 is now my default text setting. That can be very handy for when you are working and when you want to have a default size on top of text and simply select before you do any work on the page. Click OK, and now that will be your default. Okay, last thing I want to show you. I have a piece of text down here which you can drag onto the screen to work with this. Now there are some spelling mistakes in there right now that we can't see. However, if we select the text tool or I double click, you will notice a wider red line now. If I right click, it will automatically, or I can spell check. Right click and I can spell check. That's what the red wavy line is for. Now this piece of text here was really just a greatly long line of text, and I just typed it out. Hit enter on my keyboard to do a carriage return, and I created that. Okay? I can now, with my pick tool, select it, click on this, and I can still skew it, and I can still rotate, etc., etc. Although normal things. I can also begin to apply center rock, full justify, etc. Now, as I hover, you can see it's automatically applied, so I can see how that looks like before I click on it. Full justified, by the way, doesn't always look great if you don't have lots of words within your paragraph that one might have there. So non-left center, right full justify, and force justify. Well, of course, hopefully you work with other programs and do understand what they are. But we will learn more about it and as we move along, okay? Well, I'm going to delete that for now. Delete that for now, and we will move on to our next lesson. We will take this text down here, and we are going to apply that to our card.